All right, let's talk about the real reason most ideas die. Not because the idea is bad, not because you're not talented, not because you're not disciplined. Most ideas die because they never get a real system. And the first part of any system is not structure, it's not the workflow, it's not the tools, and it's not the content calendar. The first part is intent. Intent is the first system because intent decides what everything is for. If you skip intent, you'll waste time. You'll create things that look good but go nowhere. You'll work hard and still feel lost. You'll keep restarting, and then you'll think something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. Your system is missing its first piece. That piece is intent. What intent actually is, and let me make this simple. Intent is not excitement. Intent is not motivation. Intent is not that feeling you get at 2 a.m. when you say, I'm going to change my life. That feeling is real, but it's not a system. Intent is a decision you can explain. Intent is clarity. Intent is purpose with words attached. Intent answers 4 questions. And if you don't have answers to these 4 questions, you're building on sand. Here are the 4 questions. 1, who is this for? 2, what problem does it solve? 3, what change does it create? And 4, why does this matter right now? That's intent. If you can't answer those, your idea might still be good, but it's not ready. It's unfinished. So why do people skip intent? People skip intent because it feels like commitment. And commitment feels scary. Because commitment means you close doors. You choose one direction. You stop chasing every other idea and you stop trying to please everyone. Most creators love possibility. Possibility feels safe. Possibility feels like freedom. But possibility is also a trap because possibility keeps you in the maybe zone. And the maybe zone looks like this. Maybe I should start a channel. Maybe I should do comedy. Maybe I should do business content. Maybe I should do filmmaking. Maybe I should do AI or maybe motivational stuff. Maybe I should start a podcast too. Maybe I should post on every platform. Maybe I should change my name, or maybe I should change my brand. Maybe I should just wait until everything's perfect. That's not a strategy. That's uncertainty. And uncertainty destroys momentum. Let me show you what happens when intent is unclear, because this is the part nobody wants to admit. When intent is unclear, your content becomes random. You post whatever you feel like that day, and the audience doesn't know what you stand for, so they don't stick. And if they don't stick, nothing compounds. Next, when intent is unclear, your audience becomes mixed. Different people show up for different reasons. Some people want jokes, some people want business help, and some want filmmaking. Some want mindset, and then now you have a crowd but no direction. And a crowd with no direction is not an asset. It's noise. Next, when intent is unclear, your offer becomes vague. You can't sell clearly if you can't explain what you do in one clear sentence. So you end up saying things like, I help people be their best, or I help people grow, or I do content creation. That doesn't sell. Not because you're bad, but because it's unclear. Then, when intent is unclear, your system collapses when real life hits. Because every step requires you to think again. And thinking again takes energy. And energy is limited. So you stop. And then you restart. And that's the restart loop. Most people live inside this loop. They get inspired, they work hard at it for a few days, then they get confused and they stall, and then they feel shame, and then they restart with a new idea. And they call it burnout. But a lot of the time, it's not burnout. It's a system that depends on emotion. And if your plan requires you to feel like it, your plan will fail. Not because you're weak, but because the plan is weak. A system should work even when you don't feel like it. That's why intent matters. Intent reduces the number of decisions you have to make. Intent becomes a filter. A good way to look at it is a system is a set of rules. And rules are good because rules help reduce decision making. Intent is the first rule. Intent says, this is in, this is out, that's it. If something doesn't fit the intent, you don't do it. Even if it's a good idea. Even if it can get views, and even if it sounds fun. Because you're not building random posts. You're building a body of work. And a body of work needs focus. But what if you're someone who has many interests? Let's address this, because if you're like me or like most creative people, you have many interests. You can do a lot, you want to do a lot, and that's not a problem. The problem is when you're trying to do everything at the same time. You don't need to kill your interests, you just need to sequence them. Intent chooses what comes first, not what exists forever. Intent is not a prison. Intent is a path. Now let's talk about the one-sentence test. Here's the test. If your intent cannot fit into one sentence, you do not have intent yet. You have a mood, you have a vibe, you have a direction, but you don't have a system. So here's the format for the one-sentence test. I help person get result without common pain by using method. That's it. Doesn't need to sound fancy. It just needs to be clear. Let me give you some examples. I help gym owners get more booked appointments without daily posting by using a simple weekly content system. Another example would be, I help course creators ship consistently without burnout by using a repeatable production workflow. One more example. I help local service businesses turn expertise into leads without ads by using content plus follow-up. See? Clear person, clear result, clear pain, clear method. That's intent. Now we're going to talk about where things can get confusing for people. Because intent is not your niche. This is important. People think intent equals niche, and it doesn't. A niche is a market category. Real estate is a niche. Dentists is a niche. Coaches are a niche. But intent is the promised change. For example, with a real estate agent, intent would be, I help agents get 5 qualified leads per week by using one weekly video system without cold calling. That's intent. Intent is specific, intent is measurable, and measurable things can improve. And improvement is how systems grow. Now, if you don't know your intent yet, or if you're stuck, here's an example of a starter intent that works. I build systems that help people turn ideas into repeatable output. That's a starter, but you still have to choose one group first. Just one, because trying to help everyone makes your message weak. It makes your content messy, and it makes your offer unclear. You will get attention, but not trust, because trust comes from specificity. And if you're looking for the simplest way to choose who to help first, here's a simple rule. Start with the person who already pays for solutions. Not the person who likes your content, the person who pays. Because your goal is not likes, your goal is income. So ask, who has money? Who has urgency? Who already buys help? And who already sells something? These people already value structure because structure makes them money. And they don't have time to guess. That's why they pay. Now let's talk about how intent changes everything. Once intent is clear, everything downstream becomes easier. Content becomes easier because you stop asking, what should I post? And you start asking, what would help this person get this result? That's a better question. Offers become easier because you stop asking, what should I sell? And you start asking, what is the fastest path from problem to result? Platforms become easier because you stop asking, where should I be? And you start asking, where does this person already pay attention? Workflow becomes easier because you stop reinventing each week. You repeat, and repeating is the whole game. A big mistake most people make is starting with content. Most creators start with output. They think, let me write, let me film, let me post, let me build a website, let me make a logo, but they don't know what the system is. So they make content with no path. They build an audience with no offer. They build an offer with no delivery system. And then they feel overwhelmed because it's a pile of parts, not a machine. Intent is what turns the parts into a machine. So now I'm going to ask you to do something, and it'll take 10 minutes max. If you want to set intent, do this right now. Grab a piece of paper or open up a notes app and answer these. 1, the person. Who is this for? One type of person, not everyone, just one. 2, the problem. What do they struggle with that costs time or money? 3, the result. What change do they want that is real and measurable? And 4, the method. Why you? What approach do you use? Then write one sentence. I help person get result without pain by using method. That sentence becomes the foundation. That sentence becomes the filter. That sentence becomes the start of your system. Now every piece of content can point back to that, every offer can match that, and every tool can support that. Now you can build since you have your base set up. Most creators think they need more discipline. They don't. They need fewer decisions. They need a filter. They need intent. Intent is the first system because without intent, structure is impossible. And with intent, everything can be designed. In the next video, we'll talk about the second part of the system. Story. Not plots, not scripts, meaning. What your work stands for. What it changes in the person watching. What belief it builds. Because meaning is what makes people stay. But intent is what gets everything started. Intent is the first system. And if you set intent clearly, your ideas stop dying. Because they finally have something to stand on. If you're interested in learning more, or if you want access to the templates, make sure to subscribe and check out the links in the description. And as extra credit, if you want to commit to your intent on a deeper level, feel free to comment with your intent statement down below. I'll see you in the next one.